with stories out of the US, and it's a crucial night for the committee investigating the January 6th Capitol riot, when supporters of former President Donald Trump stormed Congress while lawmakers met to certify Joe Biden's election victory last year. This will most likely be the committee's, or rather this will be the committee's 8th hearing, I should say, and maybe the final televised hearing before the report is published in the autumn. I'm joined now by Nomia Iqbal, our North America correspondent, who is standing by for those hearings that are due to start in the next couple of hours. Nomia, great to get you on the programme, and I know you've been covering this right from the start. Just talk us through how significant these hearings are.
Well, these hearings have been about the committee trying to establish the official narrative of what happened on January the 6th, these deadly riots in which 4 people were killed, more than 100 police officers were assaulted, more than 800 people were arrested. And so these hearings have been happening for about 6 weeks, in which we've seen evidence in the form of video and audio, pre-recorded and live witnesses, telling us about what happened that day in the run-up. And they believe that Donald Trump, then president, was singularly responsible for what happened that day, and they've been throughout these hearings trying to show that. And what's been interesting about the hearings is that they've almost played out like an American drama show. So the first hearing was held at prime time. This hearing is also being held at prime time. They've even been produced by a former TV executive, and it's all, I suspect, to try and get the American people's attention. And today's hearing is seen as the so-called season finale, in which we're expected to hear from more witnesses who used to be part of Donald Trump's administration, and today's focus is on 187 minutes. This is the amount of time that the committee says on that day in which Donald Trump went dark. No one knew what was going on, where he was. It was from the moment that he had called his supporters to march on the Capitol to later on that afternoon when he told them to go home. So the committee believes that his inaction during that time led to that lengthy battle that we saw between the Capitol Police and rioters. And so that's what we're going to get a sense of today.
Nomia, just briefly, are we expecting anything to come out of these hearings? Any sort of consequences that we might see?
Well, in terms of any kind of criminal consequences, the committee doesn't have those powers. All the committee can do is lay out their case to the Justice Department and say, look, here's the evidence that we have, that we believe that Donald Trump and his allies are criminally responsible for what happened. So this is a key thing also that the committee is trying to establish. They're saying that the riots that happened on January the 6th weren't spontaneous and just got out of control. They say it was part of a plan by Mr. Trump and his allies to overturn the election results, to overturn American democracy. So once they release their report, and we don't know when that will be, we might even get more hearings, by the way. But when they release that report, they will effectively give it to the Justice Department. It'll be up to them to decide if they're going to bring any charges. But it's worth mentioning that the Justice Department is also doing its own separate investigation into January the 6th.
Indeed, Nomia Iqbal, thanks for joining us on Newsday. And Nomia, of course, will be part of that special programme that we'll be having on BBC News with live coverage of the US Congressional inquiry into the January the 6th invasion of the Capitol building. Do try to join us for that. My colleague Jane O'Brien and the team in Washington, including Nomia, as we were just saying, in just over an hour and a half from now.